Good day, students. In this civic education lesson, we are discussing pillars of democracy. You may have been taught this topic before, you may have heard about it. Even at that, this one now is a revision lesson for those who have been taught before, but a new lesson for those who have not been taught this before. What are pillars of democracy? That is the first thing we understand. You know, every house has a pillar, and there is something that a pillar does to a house. That is also what pillars do to democracy. As you can see on the video, pillars of democracy are those essential elements of a democratic system that give support and the stability to the process and the practice of democracy. Pillars of democracy are those essential elements of a democratic system that give support and stability to the process and practice of democracy. They function like the pillars of a house that prevent the house from collapsing. So in that way, they prevent democracy from collapsing. All right, having understood that, let us look at the major pillars of democracy. The first major pillar of democracy we shall look at is the Constitution. The Constitution is a set of basic or fundamental laws by which the political system is governed. That is what a constitution is. Why do we call the Constitution a pillar of democracy? Why is it a pillar of democracy? Let us understand. We have about 6 reasons here we are going to understand. First of all, it serves as the backbone of the organs of government by giving them the powers they exercise. Yes, it is a constitution that gives powers to the organs of government to exercise in a political system. So the constitution serves as their backbone, their major support, the fountain of their power. Secondly, it also protects the people by providing for human rights and freedoms that they enjoy as members of the society. It protects the people by providing for human rights and human freedoms that people enjoy in the society. That is another reason we say that the Constitution is a pillar of democracy. Thirdly, it provides for limitations to the powers of governments. Yes, powers of government are not limitless, they are limited. And it is the Constitution that provides those limitations to the powers of government. Next, the Constitution specifies the tenure of office of the elected government. The tenure of office, that is how long they are going to stay in office. The Constitution says it. The Constitution provides for it. In Nigeria and many other countries, we have 4 years that government is expected to stay in office until, and afterwards they are removed or re-elected. The next reason why constitution is a pillar of democracy is that it spells out the process of electing the people in government. That is the process of electing leaders. Electing leaders. The process of electing leaders is spelled out by the Constitution. That is how one other way it is a pillar of democracy. Okay, the Constitution also, finally, the Constitution is supreme and no one can govern the country without following the Constitution. The Constitution is supreme and no one can govern the country without following the Constitution. Are we there? That is one pillar of democracy we have seen right now, and the reasons why the Constitution is a pillar of democracy. The next pillar of democracy we shall look at is strong institutions. Strong institutions. Strong institutions. Can you see it there? Yeah. Strong institutions are institutions of the state that follow due process and the rule of law in all their activities. These institutions of the state that follow due process and rule of law in all they do. They do not fear anyone. They do exactly what they are supposed to do. Strong institutions in a democracy include the arms of government, the police, the armed forces, the civil service, and other government agencies. They are strong institutions, and they are only strong institutions when they follow due process and the rule of law without fearing anyone. That is why we call them strong institutions. Otherwise, they are weak institutions. How are strong institutions pillars of democracy? How do they operate as pillars of democracy? Number one, they do things according to laid down rules and procedures. They do things according to laid down rules and procedures. Next, they respect the rule of law instead of the rule of men. They respect the rule of law instead of the rule of men. Yes, there's a difference between the rule of law and the rule of men. The rule of law shows that the law is supreme and that nobody is above the law. But when we are talking about the rule of men, in that case now, people are afraid of men. People are afraid of strong men. Strong men may be afraid of some people in the society that you think if you do something against them, they can kill you, they can detain you, they can arrest you, they can do all sorts of evil against you. Those are people. Those are people that some institutions fear sometimes. In that case, if an institution fears such men, instead of going according to the law, they are doing following the rule of men instead of the rule of law. Next is that strong institutions are not arbitrary in their activities. They are not arbitrary. Being arbitrary means coming up with anything at any time without following the due process of the law. Coming up with anything at any time without looking at what the Constitution has said. Just beginning to do anything you like. That is arbitrary action. Then next, they respect merit and achievement. They respect merit and achievement. They are not afraid of anyone. They are not afraid of anyone in the performance of their duties. And finally, they are impartial. They are impartial. So strong institutions respect merit and achievement. They give honor to whom honor is due. If a worker, if a civil servant merits promotion, strong institutions will stand and give promotion to that civil servant. But if it is where the institution is not strong, they will be afraid. They will want only the governor or the president to give order for them to promote someone who they know already deserves promotion. So for strong institutions, they are not afraid. The police, when the police is a strong institution, the police will arrest anybody that should be arrested and prosecute him or her, whether the president says no or not. Even if the president says, no, don't touch that man, he is my cousin, he is my sister, the police will get up and go and arrest him if he has done something that requires that he should be arrested. That is when we can say that they are strong institutions. All right. We have seen today in this lesson the meaning of pillars of democracy. We have also looked at two important pillars of democracy, that is the Constitution and strong institutions. In the next lesson, we shall discuss other pillars of democracy, such as civil society, the mass media, political parties, and pressure groups. That is where our next lesson will focus on. Now, to end this lesson, let us take an assignment. What are the roles played by the Constitution in a democracy? What are the roles played by the Constitution in a democracy? That is our assignment for this morning, for today. See you and stay safe.